Hey everybody, welcome back to Out of the Ordinary with Jay, and I'm with
Dave.
Dave. How old are you?
55.
Okay, we're going to talk about you're the perfect person and age to talk to about this because I know you're a deep thinker. And what I want to talk about is kind of some of the big things that people think about sometimes when they're kind of just having an internal monologue. Like, what are we? Humans, like, what are we? What do you think we are?
Short answer?
Any answer, long answer, short, long.
Shorter answer is we are vessels for an experience.
Short answer is vessels for an experience, okay?
Yes.
Do you have a longer answer?
My longer answer would be, I believe.
Yeah, this is your belief we're going with here.
My belief, yes. Yeah. Your soul is eternal. Your soul is ever trying to figure out and understand itself. And the way for it to do that is to put itself into certain situations to see how it reacts. So the best way to do that is to make you forget that you are eternal and put you into situations where it seems like you have a limited amount of time, and then give yourself free will to do things to see how you would live certain lives, but also put in things in your path to maybe stir things up to see how would I react if
X happened.
If this happened or this happened, what would I do?
So is that categorized as any specific religion? It's sounding a little Buddhist kind of to me, but is there a specific, is that categorized by anything most people would know?
Nope, I think it's, to me, it's kind of a combination of a lot of different religions and ideations that I've read and studied, and it's the one that has made the most sense to me out of everything.
So basically, you've come to this conclusion or this way of thinking on your own based on 55 years of this planet and kind of investigating the big questions. These are the answers that have suited you the best and make the most sense to you. Is that the best way? Can I say it that way?
Yeah. If you look at anything atomic wise, chemistry, stuff like that, molecules are always trying to go to the next higher energy level. So, everything is always trying to go to the next energy level. So I don't see why the soul would be anything different than that. So I think what the soul is trying to do is trying to learn more about itself so it can understand itself so that it can go to the next energy level.
So you're positing that energy wants to go to the next level, but what about like entropy, where everything's just, dying and going away?
But is it?
I mean, I don't know. That's what they. I mean, that's like, I think, isn't that like a physics law? They talk about entropy.
Well,
I don't know.
Your body dies and goes to dust and to dirt, but then it just gets recycled and put into other energy.
Okay, so in your way of thinking, do we have? I think you might have already answered it, but I have the question, so I'm going to ask it again. But do we have what is our purpose being here? Like some people who might, the more popular religions would say, well, my purpose is to like serve God or whatever. Do you think there is a purpose, or what is our purpose to you?
I'm going to steal this quote, and I don't remember where I heard it, but life is meaningless. You're the one that gives it meaning. That is your purpose.
It's funny. We must have both heard it because I literally used this in another interview yesterday.
Yeah,
but it's good.
Yeah,
in other words, if I'm going to explain it, and you tell me if you think I have this right. All of us are presented. Life just throws things at you. All of us that are completely without meaning, meaning they're meaningless.
Right.
It's only till you, the person, apply a meaning to said event or object to where it then has meaning. Is that the idea?
Yeah, and also, I think it's the same person I heard that, they say, the universe, life, the creator, like whatever you want to call it, will support you in whatever you want to do 100% without question. If you choose to be depressed, life's going to say, okay, I'm going to support you, and I'm going to give you more depressing things, since that is what it seems that you want to be. So, and I think that's where way back in the day, the power of positive thinking, all these books that in any situation, no matter how dire, I think there are ways that you can spin it and find something that we would label as positive. The universe, life doesn't see positive and negative, but if we label it as positive, that's more what we track. And in the same sense, someone or people have always said, hey, life's a mirror. Yeah. If you're looking in the mirror waiting for your reflection to smile before you smile, it is never going to happen.
Oh, that's good. I've not heard that one before. I have heard you become what you believe.
Yeah.
Is that similar?
Yeah. But you have to change you before your environment's going to change. You're going to attract. If you start being positive, you're going to attract positive. If you're going to be negative and waiting for life to throw you positive stuff before you be positive, it ain't never going to happen.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. So sort of a bigger question then, which I'm interested to hear your answer on this, is what happens when we die?
This vessel goes away, and I think basically...
When you say this vessel, you mean this body?
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously goes away, our soul is released, and I think we wake up and realize who we really are, which are eternal souls. And when people say, "Oh, well, there's this life review," yeah, that was the whole point.
Oh, you're talking about like in most traditional religions, the golden gates, the judgment. That's that what you're meaning?
Well, yeah, and I don't think it's a judgment. I think it's for you to reflect on, hey, here's all positions I put in, and here's how I reacted to that. That's interesting that I reacted that way and versus this way. So, that point is when you learn about yourself, about your soul, and you decide, hey, what is it I would like to be better at? And what is it I think I did really good at? Can I put my soul into other situations where maybe I can learn this better?
So it seems like in your belief system, you have a lot of agency, a fair amount of control, seemingly. Is that?
I think in this life, we have way more control than we think we do. Okay. I know people think that we're just spinning out of control and all this stuff. I think you have a lot more control over your environment than you think. And that goes into a lot of the power of consciousness that I think a lot of places are just getting tapped into, understanding how huge consciousness is in basically projecting your own reality.
Yeah, I mean, there are philosophy books for days on all those subjects, and it gets very, very interesting. So in your view then, I don't want to get this wrong, so please correct me. Is death something to not be feared? Or like, what do you think about? Because you describe it in a way that it's like, next level and so on. So it seems like you'd almost be like, sweet, like this next event, this advancement has occurred. We'll get it later.
I think that is the contract of being.
Keep talking. My paper flew off. Sorry.
Of being, in this life. I think that's what we've agreed to. That there seems to be this finite ending to it when there really isn't. Because if you came into this life and you knew you had infinite lives, what would you really learn?
True, but you feel that that's the way that it is. So you know this. So since you know that you believe that there's infinite lives, like, do you fear death?
No.
You do not?
No.
Do you look forward to it?
I don't necessarily look forward to it because I think my way of looking at life now is, and I know I've said this before, is at this point it's just a video game, right? So if you're playing a video game and you've gotten to level 55,
right?
You don't necessarily want that video game to end because you're like, yeah, I put a lot of time and
particularly if it's a fun game.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
gotten to a point now where it's like, okay, this is pretty fun.
Right.
Let's keep. I want to keep playing this game, but if it ends, I know I can just start over.
And that's sort of the crux of your belief system.
Yeah.
So if I was to summarize it for you or for the audience, I want to, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's you're having fun playing this game, but if it's game over, you'll be ready for the next game.
Yeah, and the next game, think how much your soul has learned. So when you get put into the next game, you have all that more wisdom, more knowledge. That that's why they talk about people being old souls. Where you see these kids that are 3-4 years old that are just very wise, and it's like, yeah, they've probably had a lot of lifetimes.
So given that way of thinking, what do you think about those people today? Extreme longevity is kind of not the new thing, but it's very popular right now. You've
Sure.
got Brian Johnson with Blueprint, David Sinclair with his, there's just, I could go down the list of big names that are promoting, and there's big companies and big money and stuff involved in promoting, and science is endeavoring for people to, if not live forever, live very, very long. Like, is that a dumb endeavor? Are they dumb? Like, shouldn't they just let the game go away and move on to the next game? Or like, what do you have thoughts on this, please?
Yeah, 2 thoughts on this.
Yeah.
So I myself still try to do stuff for longevity. I'm not going out eating cheeseburgers all day and drinking milkshakes all day.
I'm looking at you right now. You said you were 55. You do not look 55.
Yeah. So again, that goes back to the video game thing. We're playing the original Gauntlet game where you just had to keep pushing quarters into that game to stay alive. Okay. Well, as long as I got some quarters to pump into the game, I want to keep playing the same game. But at some point, obviously, we're all going to run out, and that's fine.
So in your analogy, these people are running, I'm going to say these extreme longevity people seem to me then that they're running around trying to find as many quarters as they can.
Sure.
Like, is that a fruitful endeavor or is it a waste of time? Or like, do you know what I mean?
Has anybody ever beat death?
Well, some of these people are aiming to try.
But maybe, and here was my other thought, is maybe this is part of their life path because they need to learn something. And and it also goes down to another saying that I heard someone say is, hey, if you're in a fight that you're never going to win, you still fight it.
True.
Not because it's not a win or lose thing. It's like, okay, well, you're going to fight it because you're going to discover something.
Sorry, guys.
Bless you. Or you're going to learn something. So, no one's ever beat death. Okay, but it's still worth fighting.
Okay, that's a good answer, but I'm going to make this even a tougher question for you, as if I haven't made it tougher enough. But supposing somebody did come up with the extreme longevity solution, a pill that makes you live forever, does that get in the way of your belief system? Because now you definitely can't possibly advance to the next level if you're perpetually living in this life. You know what I mean? That's a robust, it's an out there thought. I'll grant you that. But, for me, I see, like with so many belief systems, I just see like there's an inherent conflict between things are better later, but I kind of like it now. Do you know what I mean? It's like you can't have both. Sure. Like you either are living this life or you've moved on to the next life, if that's the way that you believe. And, determining which one's better. I posit that these people that are trying to live forever, I don't think they think there's much of a life after this or whatever. But also I think that, I think that's it. I just don't think they want to they don't want to give up on the sure thing, so to speak. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you ever heard of the infinite life theory?
No, but please enlighten me and the audience.
So let's say that today I could take your consciousness and build you a brand new body, however you wanted it to look. And I could download your consciousness into it so that you had infinite lives. The theory is at some point you would have you will have known and done everything except die.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, you will need to understand, all right, that's the only thing I haven't done. Here comes a cat.
Sweet, we have a cat tail right there. That's awesome. Goes along with my sneezing. Oh, it does. That's probably why I sneezed.
There you go.
Okay, anyways, go on.
Yeah, so let's say you have infinite money, you've done everything, you know everything, you can do whatever it is you want. At what point do you decide, hey, there's one thing that I have not ever done, and that's die?
But couldn't one posit that the universe is so vast it would be impossible to see everything and know everything?
Not if you have infinite lives.
Okay. It's a weird question, but I think it gets to the heart of so many belief systems where, like, hey, life's going to be so much better later, but then most people don't want to give up what they have now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe it's certainty versus uncertainty. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's like, it sort of reminds me of like, most of the belief systems believe, or many of the belief systems believe, once you, when you pass away, if you were good, you go to heaven. If you're bad, you go to hell, or some version of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, or not even good or bad, more of like, if you're a believer in this certain tradition or this certain way of thought, you get the keys to the good place, right?
Right.
But I'd never see anybody jumping for joy when they get cancer or get in a car accident that's fatal.
Sure.
Nobody's ever like, oh, whew, good, they're out of here. This place was only so. Now they're in the great place. You know what I mean? You never hear that, or I never have. And so that's sort of what I'm kind of positing to you. It's for really almost every belief system.
Yeah, no one's running out trying to die just because they know they have infinite amounts of retries. But again,
does that mean? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I would, go back to, like, I'm sure most people don't have the same thoughts about it that I do.
Yeah.
A lot of people, especially if you are, in a religion, that you think, okay, we die and then that's it. You're going to go here, you're going to go here, and then your life, you don't get to come back here. You don't get to redo anything. That's it. And yeah, that's a very finite way that these people are looking at things. So yeah, to them, 100%, they want to cling to every single thing they have in this life.
Gotcha. So do you think that people that are clinging so hard to this life, which would definitely be in the category of those extreme longevity people, right? The people that are trying to live forever or live forever, are they this clinging to this? Is it, for lack of a better term, is it futile and dumb?
No.
Is it wrong-headed? Like,
again, because are you ever going to win? I don't know. I don't think so. But
well, I mean, the Fountain of Youth idea and the Holy Grail idea have been around a very long time.
Right.
Nobody's beat it yet.
No.
Everybody seems to think they have the trick. But so go on. So the odds are in your favor for sure.
Sure. But is your soul learning something going through that experience?
Right. And
is that why you're doing it?
Right. Right. And your theory is not too dissimilar from many religions in that it's an eternal soul idea. Because I think a lot of the people that think this way don't think there's such a thing as an eternal soul. So they're like, hey, this is it. I got, this cell structure, and once it's disrupted, see ya.
Yeah.
Okay. So how have your beliefs changed over time? Have you always thought this way?
No, obviously not. So grew up Lutheran, going to Sunday school, and
so that's more to what I was kind of talking about a little bit. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but and I think even early on there's a lot of questions that I had about, hey, that doesn't really make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh, you know what? That's really vague. What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I never really got great answers of it.
Right.
But for instance, I remember being, in Sunday school, and like one of the commandments was thou shalt not kill.
Mm-hmm.
And being a kid, I was confused on that because I'm just like, well, I kill mosquitoes all the time. And I'm like,
That's the mind of a child. Sure.
And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Just sit there and let them bite me?
Right, right.
And the pastor laughed and he said, no, it's only humans. I'm like, but it doesn't say that. And he said, well, but that's what it means. I'm like, and I literally said, I'm like, well, how do you know that? And I really was wondering.
You're hitting. I know. You know what? I say this in my other video that I just did the other day too. Is like, there is no better interrogator of difficult questions than children.
Yeah.
Because they're not aware that they're supposed to shut up, and so like they will keep asking why. Well, then why? Well, then why? Until they really get a satisfactory answer. Yeah. They're the best at asking difficult questions because they don't give up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, yeah, anyway, very interesting. So go on. Sorry.
So, his answer finally became, because we've had people chosen by God study this book ever since the book was written, and they know what the meaning was. And I was like, okay.
Right.
But, and then, just going on later on in life, going to college and taking like religions of the world and learning about all these other different religions. I remember reading philosophy books, and then, just lately, with the study of consciousness and all the things that basically scientifically proving that, hey, if you're flipping a coin 100 times and you have 10,000 people in the room all concentrating on heads, you're skewing the results towards heads. It's 100,
wow.
And to the point, and I think we've talked about this before, where they did an experiment with an empty room, and they have a light in the middle of the room, and the light randomly every 15 minutes changes to shine in a different corner of the room. And when the room's empty, what you get is the light roughly shines on each corner about 25% of the time. When you put a plant in the room, you will skew the results to whatever corner the plant's in. Gets more light, not randomly, but the light shines on that corner more often, no matter what corner they put that plant in, showing there is actually some consciousness that the plant has with the light.
Could it just be like a scientific chemical basis that plants attract light? You know what I mean? Like something like that?
I think, but if a plant attracts something, does that not show that there's a consciousness to it?
I suppose that would be up to definition, because I think a person could just say, well, it's just the nature of that object to attract a certain...
I think those are just all the different labels for consciousness.
Okay. So when I'm hearing a lot of your thoughts, like the soul and some of these other things, there is and this is a kind of an interesting, and Joseph Campbell's, of course, the best that ever did this subject, of course, but like there seems to be this commonality among so many beliefs. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
And I find that commonality in itself to be interesting. Interesting phenomena.
100%.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, if you study all the religions, you're going to find there is a core commonality between all of them.
Many commonalities.
Yeah. It's the outskirt side of traditions where everyone fights about, which I think is so dumb. It's like, you all believe this roughly the same thing. You guys are fighting about these traditions over here that you do differently. It's like, you all believe this.
Well, I'm with you, but that does seem to, I won't take too big of a detour here, but that does seem to be a big part of the human condition. Like, we can agree on 90%.
Yeah.
Rather than coalesce around that, we'll choose to fight about the 10.
Right.
Absolutely. You know what I mean? It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah,
like, we be in alignment on so many things, and we'll choose to hyper focus on the things that we disagree on and just go at it. And I think that's so since your thinking has changed or grown or adapted, however you want to say it, over time, like, how certain are you now of your thinking today? Like this idea that you sort of espoused, you like 100%, like 50%, like how
I don't know. Obviously, I don't think that you can be 100% on, right. Even some people think they are.
Right.
100% what I'm thinking.
Yeah, many
the way it is.
That's
right?
that's part of the problem is many people think they're 100% right.
But I've kind of, being a scientist, done stuff where I've realized my thinking is a certain way, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to change my thinking and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Most of the time, things change.
Mm.
And so to me, it's just like, okay, well, how many times, how much data is enough to prove something? I don't think in that sense you're ever going to get enough data
Right.
to prove that. But the more and more data you get, the more likely you are that, like, okay, I'm onto something, but I don't know every aspect I have right, but there's something to that.
So 1 to 100, 1 being not very thinking you've got this right at all, 100 being thinking like, oh, I'm pretty sure I'm on the right path, or I've got the right idea. Where are you?
I think I'm in the low 90s.
Okay, so you're pretty certain that throughout all your experience, you've now dialed it in pretty dang good.
You want me to throw a really monkey wrench into your thing?
Please.
There's the theory that every one of us is on our own video game, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it's called solipsism. There's a thing called
that. So your consciousness and your thought processes are basically driving your video game.
Yeah.
So what if whatever anybody believes, the strongest is what they're going to get?
Okay, so that sounds similar, but a little bit different than what I just described. What I just described with solipsism, I believe, is that, and this is a freaky notion, is that you right now are the only thing that's real.
Yep.
Literally nothing else is. I'm not, the camera's not, the audience is not, you're not. All of life is just a manifestation or projection of your consciousness.
Yep.
That's kind of weird because you'd be alone in that instant.
You would. Except
for your thoughts and projection. Anyway, that's a weird one. So I guess my last question is, then we'll leave it off after that, is like how there's so many belief systems out there, and some of the big, major ones, of course, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Hindu, those are 4 of the Jewish, there's like, probably half a dozen real big ones out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you have this idea that's a little bit different. I've not quite heard your idea. And then you have all the others, lots and lots and lots of smaller ones, right? How do you or anyone know what is like the truth?
You're never going to know the truth.
I mean, with so many conflicting views, and we did describe there's a lot of commonality between them, so maybe there's an underlying common theme.
Yep.
But it seems like a pretty dizzying experience for someone to try to figure this out.
Right. But if, like I said before, you're in charge of basically creating your life path.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And you decide, hey, in this life, the teachings of Catholicism are going to help me get to where I want to go versus Buddhism. So I'm going to put myself in situations where I'm kind of bombarded with people who are Catholic. Now, you still have free will during that life to reject all of that.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm almost hearing that your idea almost supersedes or is above these religions. Like the religions is just kind of a way, a path of getting around your way of things. Am I right on that or no?
Yeah,
I confuse that?
All people have different ways of learning.
Mm.
So why wouldn't it be that, okay, well, if you're born in Africa in the 1980s, you have a way different view of the world versus someone born in America today.
Yeah.
One religion isn't going to teach both of those people the same thing. Yeah. So why wouldn't there be thousands of religions depending on what it is you want to learn at a certain time?
Right. I mean, I would think the religions came into being because that's where they were at. That's where their culture was and all those things. A fun thought experiment to me is always like, okay, if you were, if I was interviewing a person now instead of you that was born in Japan, right? And let's say they grew up in a small village in Japan where everybody's Buddhist, right? You know, I might ask them like, well, how would your life have changed if you were born in, say, rural Alabama? Do you think you'd still be a Buddhist?
Right.
Well, almost certainly not.
Right.
Right. And so those thought experiments get awfully weird in terms of searching out the truth, because then the truth kind of, I guess this kind of does go to your way of thinking a little bit, but then the truth is based a lot on, you know, your environment versus something else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a way of, I think, and that's why I think all of them have the same core thing, because it's like, okay, well, you want them to all have the same core thing to attract people to them. But then they also all have really different fringe and other things. And so if you want to learn a certain thing, that religion might be a better time. So maybe your next life say, hey, I'm going to grow up in Asia and
well, and people do even switch things in this life. I mean, people leave various religions all the time for another one. You know, I mean, that's the term born again Christian, or you know what I mean? They were not Christian, now they are, or they were very religious, and now for whatever reason they had a circumstance, now they're not religious at all. Or you know, people kind of move around, meander their way through this.
Yeah,
so
that's why I think it's so, I don't know. Not even hilarious. I don't know what the word is, but like all these people that like just try to push their religion onto people. It's like, because, you know, like you can sit, I'll tell anyone what I think and how I feel and why I feel and think that way. But what you do with the information I give you is none of my business, because I have no idea what your life path is.
Right. Well, that's true. But I think in some of the tradition, I agree with that. I think some of the reasons why they do it, of course, are number one, you know, depending on the religion, it's for their own salvation, right? If I do a good job of proselytizing and do an amount of converts, it saves me, right? And then I think there's another cohort where they're like, it really did change their life in a good way, right? And like anything that's joyful or really helped someone, they just want to like share it. Like, you have no idea how great this is. You know what I mean? And they really believe it or really feel it, and it really did even help them. Do you know what I mean? And I think, but everybody's got their own journey. I think the introduction's good. The pushing, I don't know. You know?
I think.
What do you think?
I think the people who are very much into pushing, not even religions, but their own views on things,
agenda,
don't actually believe them themselves.
Oh, really?
So if what I think that they're trying to do is they're trying to surround themselves and get so many people to believe like they do, so they can feel better about the way they're thinking.
Oh, in other words, the whole methinks thou dost protest too much. In other words, right? No, I'm definitely devout. I'm the most devout. You've never seen someone more devout saying it over and over again. You like, at some point you go like, what is their deal? You know, they sure are seem a little guilty here or whatever.
If they can convince 10 people that didn't believe the way they believe to now believe the way that they believe, internally they're going to be like, I think I'm onto something.
Oh, I see.
You know,
reinforcement.
Yeah. So I think these people that try so hard to change people, they really don't believe it themselves. They're trying to actually prove it to themselves by getting other people to believe it.
Well, I'm going to agree with you on, I just want to say, if you guys are interested in this and other videos, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up. But also I was going to say, I do think, to your point, I feel like everybody hedges. Even you were like, I'm in the 90 percentile, not 100, right?
Right.
And so, I mean, not everybody hedges. Obviously, there are, there's monks and monasteries and stuff that I presume are, all in, 100%. And I think a certain amount of respect should be, conveyed to people that are that, into their thinking. But I think overall, just most people hedge. We're confused. It's like we're the, just scientifically, at least as far as I know, we're the only species, the only animal that can contemplate their own death, that knows that they're mortal, and that knows the approximate time limit. And that really screws with your head.
Or are we?
Well, if that's do tell. Well, I'm just giving you my opinion, though, real quick. Is that I think a lot of people think I think that that idea that, you know, you're born and at a certain age you realize, oh, okay, the average person lives till 75. And I think that does a number on our psyche. And I think people spend a great deal of time trying to reconcile that, figure it out, make it okay, and do the best with the time they have. But, you know, in your way, it makes it a lot more palatable. And I think a lot of other religions would say the same thing, right?
Yeah, I think if you look at two people that believe in Catholicism, and you have the one person that just kind of sits there and it's like, yeah, I'm Catholic, you know, and I've always been Catholic and blah blah blah, and they're not trying to push anything down your throat. That person believes in Catholicism way stronger than the person who's trying to convert everyone that they see. And that's kind of what I was thinking about, is like, they're trying so hard to convert people, not because they actually have so much more faith into what they're doing, is they actually aren't sure about it themselves.
Well, whether that's true or not, I know the one will have more friends.
Oh, that's true. But on the other one, I was saying is, there's studies out now that in cats, and they're assuming that this is probably going to extend to all animals, actually have telepathy between each other, which I think is hilarious, because we've all grown up and learned that, oh, well, we learned how to read and write and how to communicate with our mouths with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So we're this, you know, we're the best species on the planet, where now if we learn, it's like, oh, no, actually animals didn't need to speak, and that's why they never did. Where does that put us? Because what else do they know at that point?
Well, I will stipulate, I don't know how far down the rabbit hole we want to go on that. Maybe we do, because it sounds like fun. But what I was going to say is, but what I would stipulate is that, because I don't know if I'm in agreement with that, all that, other than to say I don't know what I don't know. So I'm open. But, you know, being advanced, humans we say are the most advanced, you know, based on our own criteria.
Okay.
So, you know, what does that really mean? You know, is it if it's because you can build rocket ships and microprocessors? Okay, as far as we know, we won the battle. But if it's being, you know, maybe enlightened and super peaceful, I don't know, maybe some set of dolphins win. You know what I mean? I have no idea how do you define advanced? You know, if we're defining advanced as, you know, being able to create MRI machines and use them, you know, we're probably it.
Okay.
You know, but I think that's sort of open to definition.
What if, this will be my last thought.
No, we're good, dude. We'll keep going for a long time.
Try to blow you out of the water with this one. What if all animals actually understand that, hey, there are infinite lives, and one of the meanings to life is to do everything you can to help out someone else. So what if cats or dogs being in your life have chosen to be there to help you through a certain time by doing a certain thing for you, knowing that, hey, I'm going to get hit by a car on this day, but that's okay, because I have infinite lives. I can come back and do whatever. And, you know, same thing I think about, you know, I don't like hunting, but what if the deer actually knows you have a rifle trained on it, and it's like, oh, you know what? I'm going to help that person because I'm going to sustain them with my meat. I mean, I get to come back anyway as whatever else.
I suppose, I think that's an interesting concept. I think, like many other schools of thought, I think it's just a nice way to think about the world, because it makes horrific acts more palatable. Because otherwise one could say that deer is going to be shot and injured and may struggle and gasp for air for some time before it eventually dies, and is in excruciating pain during that time. And the cat's got to go to the bathroom in a litter box and eat crappy cereal all day. So I get it. And I think that there are lots of views in terms of, like, you know, like even in the more traditional religions, you know, a man's dominion over beasts, you know, that makes anything you do to the planet or other animals okay. You're in charge, based on their you know.
Are you,
thinking.
or are they just letting you?
That's an open discussion, and we'll leave it there. Thanks for the enlightening interview, Dave.